Muted.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Landscape Management Apprenticeship Program webinar offered by the National Association of Landscape Professionals. Thank you all for making time to be with us today. We've had over 100 companies register to learn more about the apprenticeship program, and that certainly excites us because we really recognize that this is a game changer for the industry. Before we get started with the program, just a couple of housekeeping announcements. First of all, my name is Missy Henriksen. I am the Vice President of Public Affairs for NALP, and I will be your host or hostess today for the call, helping you understand a little bit more about the apprenticeship program and all that it offers the industry. I am joined today by Valerie Shuford, a colleague of mine, and Valerie is our apprenticeship program manager. And she and I will be happy to answer all of the questions you may have about the program at the end of the presentation. For those of you that are not familiar with webinars, you will see on your dashboard a question box. If you do have any questions about the program, about the presentation, please go ahead and type your question in that section, and we will address all of your questions at the end of the presentation. Excuse me. I will also note that all of your phone lines are on mute, so even if you have a burning question, we won't be able to hear it. So again, please do use that question box on your dashboard. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started with the program today, and I would like to recognize and thank sorry, we're having technical difficulties here. I would like to recognize and thank John Deere for their generous support and sponsorship of our webinar today. John Deere, as I think everyone on the phone knows, is certainly a good friend to the industry, good friend to industry companies, and certainly a good friend to NALP. So before we get started with the presentation itself, just a short video from John Deere.
For the past 25 years, teaming up with landscape professionals has been some of the most important work we do. It's led to a broad and growing line of equipment designed specifically to meet your needs, to shape the earth, to move supplies and people, to cover properties of any size, to keep lawns and gardens and courses and campuses looking their absolute best. It's encouraged us to pursue and perfect new features and deliver enhanced equipment that lets you do more and do better. Together, the industry's best dealer network. And to create our comprehensive service and financing never have to slow you down. Because even after 180 years, our memory is as sharp as ever.
So again, thank you to John Deere, and I know we have several representatives from Deere on the phone with us today, so a special thank you to all of you for your recognition of the importance of the apprenticeship program to the industry. We appreciate you today and always. So with that, let's move on to the agenda for today's program and I'd like to highlight for you what we'll be covering in our time together. First of all, we're going to talk just a little bit about what apprenticeships are. We've been hearing a lot more about them, certainly, and we'll talk just kind of conceptually what the programs are, and then we'll get into why all the buzz, why we really consider apprenticeship programs to be a silver bullet in the workforce crisis that this industry has. You'll recognize that I say a silver bullet, not the, but we do believe that these are as close to the silver bullet as is possible in terms of being a game changer for the industry. Then we'll dig a little bit into what our program actually entails. We'll walk through what it looks like, what the competency areas are, how you get started, who's eligible, all of those good things. And then as promised earlier, we will get to any questions that you may have and talk about things that perhaps we've not covered or not made clear to you. So first of all, let's talk about apprenticeship programs as a whole. Here, we had invited the Department of Labor to be on the call with us today, but they've got a lot of approval channels. So we've taken just some of the information from from their website to share with you for the call today. So you'll see kind of the definition that DOL offers about what an apprenticeship program looks like on the screen in front of you. You'll recognize from the definition that it's really not just training. I know many of you on the call today already have very solid, very informative educational programs for new hires and those that come into your company as they progress through the career opportunities and through the career ladders. This is a formalized version of training. It is indeed very prescriptive, and we'll talk about that more in just a second. Everybody going through the program will be offering a similar type of educational experience for every man and every woman that goes through the program, because this leads to a national credential. So if you are an apprentice and you go through your apprenticeship program in Maine, and at some point in time life circumstances bring you to California or Michigan, you want the employer who will be we want the next employer to know if they are hiring someone who's gone through the apprenticeship program, that next employer will know that they have competencies in the 17 areas of the program, including the major 3. So again, it's very prescriptive. It's not up to the whim of a company to say, oh, I think I want to substitute this for that or X for Y. It's a very everything that's offered in there is done with purpose and for a reason. And the other thing that we'll recognize here about the program in terms of its national credential and why it's so important that that prescriptive process is followed is we have applied for college credit for those who complete the apprenticeship program. There is an arm of the Department of Labor that recognizes apprenticeship programs at 300. It allows you to be recognized at 300 colleges around the country. So if our program is approved, and hopefully we'll know that sooner rather than later, but once our program is approved, we'll put it in that optimistic language. Once our program is approved, anyone who successfully completes the apprenticeship program should be eligible for college credit at 300 schools around the country. What a great opportunity that is for those that go through the program, and what a great opportunity that is for you all as employers to offer that benefit to apprentices. So talk a little bit here about what the components are. The program that we have is a DOL registered apprenticeship program. There are a lot of other types of programs out there. Some of you may be familiar with them. There are state programs, there are company programs, but this is a DOL registered program. What that means is a variety of different things, and we've already hit on some of them. First of all, there's a partnership there. There's business involvement, there's NALP involvement, there's DOL involvement, and there's involvement by the apprentice himself or herself. But your companies are largely involved. You are providing the structured on-the-job training. While I said just a second ago it's very prescriptive, it certainly is in terms of the competencies, but how that training is provided is up to the individual company. How company X does certain things, for instance, loading a truck, may be different than how company Y does it. So you don't need to worry that you are teaching, one specific way. You are training your company's way in the 17 competency areas. The program also includes related instruction, and we'll talk about some of these things a little bit later in the presentation, but just to give you a general overview, we've got the structured on-the-job training, and that's 2,000 hours of learning. We have related instruction. Again, this is a DOL requirement, and that's 144 hours for classroom or classroom style instruction. There are also rewards offered to the apprentice for skills that are gained. So as the apprentice's competencies and knowledge increases, the individual will receive compensation increase. In fact, they're required to receive that increase at least 6 months into their apprenticeship program. And then the last component that you'll see here is indeed that national occupational credential. We talked about that just a second ago in terms of the portable credential that this will offer to the apprentice. A couple of fast facts just to let you know a little bit more, some information from the DOL site. Right now there are 150,000 employers and organizations participating in apprenticeships. There are 28,000 different apprenticeship programs that are out there. And there are more than 400,000 apprentices nationwide, and we expect this number to continue to grow. 1,000 different occupations that are registered. And I'm going to pause on this note to let you all know that the program that we have launched is a landscape management apprenticeship program. It covers the competencies of landscape management or landscape maintenance. We are also right now working on the launch of the lawn care apprenticeship program. So if there are any companies on the phone that are curious about that, if your main service areas are in lawn care, we've got that covered. We're working on that. Right now, interestingly, lawn care is not an apprenticeable industry. So our first step with that is changing the tide in that space and making sure that this will be recognized as an apprenticed industry. And then, probably not surprisingly to many of you, the construction and a lot of the utility trades are very, very dominant in the apprenticeship industry. They've been working in this space for decades, and we are starting to see interest by a lot of industries that are looking, that are really challenged by bringing in a workforce. Let's talk about why we're hearing so much more about apprenticeship programs. You've heard me refer to them as a game changer, a silver bullet for the industry, and let's walk through some of the reasons why this is indeed the case. First of all, by the fact that we have a registered apprenticeship program, our industry has now moved from what has been considered an unskilled trade to a skilled trade. It is therefore an industry that will get new attention by people like guidance counselors. Guidance counselors, their mode of operation, if they're working with kids they counsel and those kids aren't choosing to go the college route, the next thing that guidance counsel will recommend is for them to consider an apprenticed industry, because they will say to that student, you will learn a craft, you will learn a trade where you can earn a good living. You will, in many instances, be able to earn college credit. So we've started to check the buckets, the boxes that are so important to these guidance counselors. We have a person here on our staff whose son is a senior in college, a senior in high school, and she forwarded to our team an email she had gotten from her son's guidance counselor, and it said, if your son or daughter is not interested in going to college next year, we have a bunch of different people from industries that have apprenticeships. They will all be in the guidance office on X and such a date. Well, we all thought how great that is, but how sad that our industry wasn't recognized by that school. This was before our program launched. How empowering that will be for our industry when we can participate in that kind of mass communication to high school students. So we're certainly excited about the fact that we've moved from an unskilled trade to a skilled trade. We are seen by high school college advisors or college counselors in high schools as a reputable, it just automatically puts us in that reputable recommended path. One example that I will give to you in this area, I don't know if we've got any folks here from the state of Kentucky, but we've been working with the state of Kentucky Department of Education. When we first talked with them a couple of weeks ago, they said, we are so excited your industry has an apprenticeship program now. You are one of the last two industries we've been waiting for to launch an apprenticeship program. Now that you have one, we are going to tell every kid who's in our technical education, in our high school technical education classes, every kid who's enrolled in HORT or ag classes, we are going to recommend they go and work with one of your companies who offers the apprenticeship program. So instead of us begging and pleading and really trying to have people hear the message about how powerful the jobs are in this industry, we've got the Department of Education now recommending our field. Hopefully by that one example, you can start to see why we're so excited about the doors this program will offer. In addition to high school students being attracted to apprenticeship programs and college counselors pushing them in that direction, it also is greatly valued in the veterans community, and we'll hit on that in just a bit more in just a second. Here's a couple things that you'll see on this slide in terms of why companies that participate in apprenticeship programs value them. They greatly reduce turnover. Companies that are investing in their employees' education, when that employee says, my company is putting me through a nationally credentialed program, hopefully giving me an opportunity to earn college credit, there's a loyalty that is strengthened by that kind of individual investment. It creates highly skilled employees. We're showing people that, you know, this isn't just an industry where people, quote, cut grass all day, right? This is an industry where you really need to learn a lot in order to work your way through the profession. So we're demonstrating that. It teaches people the competencies that are important in the job, and it certainly offers a recruiting advantage. So it allows us to compete against industries that have apprenticeship programs that are, you know, kind of, quote, stealing our people. So the building and construction industry, they have apprenticeship programs, manufacturing apprenticeship programs, retail industry apprenticeship programs. You could go down the list of industries against which you may compete for employees. We're now, you know, we're one of the big boys now, or one of the big girls. We've got an apprenticeship program that automatically earns us invitations to the right parties, so to speak. Also, in terms of recruiting, and you know, we want the industry to all work as one. You know, we hope that if you are going to go into schools in your community and talk about apprenticeship programs, we would love for you to do it as a team. We would love for, you know, if there are 10 landscape contractors in the area, rather than, you know, trying to be the first into the school, we would love you to go in and say together, our industry has an apprenticeship program. Our companies are offering these opportunities to your students. It really will give us an opportunity for some recruiting advantages as an industry, and certainly for those companies in our space that are offering them. Next slide speaks to the tax credits and financial support available for companies sponsoring apprenticeships. If you've been multitasking in all aspects of the presentation so far, I'd like you to pay attention to this particular note. There are millions and millions and millions of dollars available for apprenticeships. This is a huge priority for the current administration, and there is a lot of federal money, and it's being pushed to states, and a lot of states are following suit, and they are increasing their budgets for apprenticeships as well. So what this means to you as contractors on the phone is that when you the cost of apprenticeships, and we'll talk about those in a few slides, but when you put people through the program, there are fees. In many states, you can have those fees paid for or subsidized by your state. I'll give you a couple of examples here. The state of Michigan, they have $6,500 available to companies for each apprentice going through an apprenticeship program. That comes in the form of helping cover coursework, kind of a, you know, a hooray, you did it, for the apprentice, $3,000 when the apprentice finishes, and then a $1,500 tax credit. So all that equates to $6,500 per apprentice in the state of Michigan. They're not going to come knock on your door and say, heard you're putting people through, here's a $6,500 check. You've got to go through the paperwork, but that kind of money is available. I'll use Pennsylvania as another example. The State Association in Pennsylvania has applied for a grant to put people through apprenticeship programs. We've talked with the grant officer up there, and the grant officer is so excited about the program because it's a different industry, right? It's not manufacturing or construction or hospitality. So he thinks it's a different industry, and he recognizes the diversity of our industry. So he's recommended they get the full grant of $250,000 renewable for the next 4 or 5 years. So over $1 million available, hopefully, if the grant is indeed endorsed, that might be coming to the fine folks in Pennsylvania to put people through apprenticeship opportunities. So a lot of money available there. Department of Labor encourages veterans to consider careers in industries that offer apprenticeships when they leave active duty service. And there is money that comes to vets when they go through, you know, when they get their GI Bill that can help with housing costs if they're interested in moving to a different community. They can have support through the GI Bill, and also some of the GI Bill includes funding for education as well. Let's move into talking about the Landscape Management Apprenticeship Program. That's why you are all here today. The program launched February the 11th, and we had 11 companies sign up the first week. We're excited about that. So you've heard me mention a couple of these facts. So 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, 144 hours of classroom-style instruction or online training. We have put together an online training portal that will fulfill the requirements for the 144 hours. In case you are looking for how in the world is that going to be filled, we've got that answer for you, and we'll hit on that more in just a second. You've heard us kind of reference a little bit about the Earn and Learn program and the college credit opportunities. Everything you need to know about the Landscape Management Apprenticeship program is on our website, and the kind of vanity URL for that is landscapeapprenticeship.org. If you go into the NALP site, you'll certainly find us under the Careers tab. 17 competency areas that I've mentioned a couple of times. I'm not going to read all of them out, but you will see them on your screen. So it covers everything from organizing equipment and loading a truck, maintaining equipment, plant identification, aeration, etc. You do need to offer, under the direction of a mentor, training in each of these areas. I'm sure some of you looking at this list will say, we don't do application of herbicides and insecticides, or we don't do some other part of what's on here. Your apprentice will still need to learn the competencies of those areas. So what we recommend to you is great opportunity to partner with colleagues. One of the greatest things about this industry is, though there may be competition, you do embrace that opportunity to recognize your colleagues. So you certainly can maybe do some training swaps with one another in your community. For the suppliers and business partners that are on this call, this is a great opportunity for you all to work with your customers and look at where they may need some training guidance and offer yourselves as resources in those areas. If we have any state associations on this phone or partner associations, this is again another opportunity to support training in the local area. So all of these 17 competency areas have to be provided to the apprentice under the direction of a company-provided mentor. Again, the training doesn't exclusively have to take place with your company, but it has to be, the fact that you have learned these competency areas has to be validated by your mentor. The classroom-style instruction. So as I said, we do have information online that will fulfill the 144 hours. We have an online program that is done in partnership with Colorado State University, and it covers the 3 predominant areas of the program: landscape maintenance, landscape installation, and irrigation. If you have a college, technical school, robust training program, you absolutely do not need to use our online program. If you will use something other than the program, you do need to petition to us, and we will need to explore that curriculum 24 hours. We expect that there will be many schools that say, hey, we've got a great landscape installation program. Can that fulfill the training requirements for the online training or the classroom style instruction? Good chance, absolutely. But because we have the responsibility to the Department of Labor to make sure that all of our apprentices are learning the same thing, we have to validate that whatever is being put forward as an alternative to the 144 hours we're providing fits all the bills there. So we want to work with colleges, 2-year colleges, 4-year colleges, different community groups. I think even some suppliers may find that they want to offer some of this. So we're happy to work with you. And again, for companies, we will work with you as well. We will ask for things like your curriculum outline. We'll ask for the tests and quizzes that people are put through as they go through the program. Certainly look for the training information, et cetera. So again, because we have the responsibility to the Department of Labor, if we're ever audited, to make sure that those 144 hours are being fulfilled in the way we've said they would, we will certainly look for all of that type of documentation in our review of instruction. Excuse me. Um, if you've not yet visited the Landscape Apprenticeship website, definitely recommend it. It's not a dry read, and there's not a ton of information there, but it answers a lot of questions for you. And again, the kind of vanity URL on that is landscapeapprenticeship.org. Excuse me. We will certainly be your resource, but you will see on this site, kind of all the different buckets, why apprenticeships. It will allow you to explore the program, resources, etc. One of the things you will see peppered throughout the site is a link to download the Landscape Management Apprenticeship Handbook. This is a, 44, 46-page book that has everything you might want to know about the apprenticeship program. And again, we like to think it's not terribly dry, but it has all the questions people might ask, all the answers to those, and it also has a lot of examples of the type of collateral available to companies that are putting people through the program. I would also mention we want to be your resource. We want to be your support system as you register for the program for your company and as you begin working with your apprentices. The term that we want to use is we're your apprenticeship concierge, so to speak. My colleague, Valerie Schuford, who's on the line with us today, will be your primary point of contact if you have any questions about, does this curriculum count? Or I'm looking at filling out this application. Can you help? Valerie is a wealth of knowledge, and really consider her your concierge as you go through the apprenticeship program. She will be your first point of contact, and she will be there to celebrate with you once the apprentice finishes the program. Okay, a couple of slides, 2 or 3 here on the nitty-gritties and some of the questions that you may have most in your heads right now. Excuse me. How does the program work? So you select the current employees. We are not a matchmaking service. We are not going to find them for you. We will help, but you will be the one selecting your employees. It's really a hiring process. But I think you will find by having the apprenticeship program, it's different. It's easier than when you don't. A couple of examples. Since we've launched the program, we're just getting people from random cities in the United States contacting our office saying, hey, is there a company near me? So we are trying to matchmake there. And some of you on the phone, I think, have been the beneficiaries of some of those. Some of the 11 companies that have already signed up, we've said, oh, we had somebody recognize that they want to do the apprenticeship program in your state. Can we connect you? On our job board, we have changed that so you can post listings that say you're looking for an apprentice, and there's now a box you can check. So right now, if you're looking for an irrigation person or an arborist, you can check that. So as people come to the site, they can look for their career specialty. They can sort by specialty. They can now sort by apprenticeships. Also, once you register that you are a company offering apprenticeships, Valerie is kindly registering you on the DOL site, which has an inventory of all apprenticeships by zip code. So if a random person out there really doesn't know what they want to do, but they are very interested in apprenticeships, they'll put in their zip code. And if your company is registered with us as an apprenticeship company, then your name is going to pull up. And we'll be promoting the program in a variety of different ways. But again, you are the ultimate hirer, but we're going to help. Once you register the apprentice with us, you will be involved with tracking his or her hours and competencies. There's a sample form that you fill out that allows you to track the individual's hours by the 17 competency areas. Over time, we'll be putting that online and making it digital and a little bit easier. But for right now, we've got a very attractive pen and paper version for you. Then, you get started. You've registered with us. You go ahead and register your apprentices. You start with the on-the-job training. You pay the progressively higher wages that we talked about earlier, at least once in 6 months. And you help them finish the training. They also have to go through the 144 hours, as we've talked about. And it is not step 1 on the job training first, and then step 2, the 144 hours. Both can be done simultaneously. And then, as we've talked about, each apprentice will work under the direction of an experienced mentor. At our recent Workforce Summit, there were some questions about, well, who qualifies as an experienced mentor? That is the company's decision, whether it's a crew leader or foreman, whomever you think will be a good mentor for your apprentice, that decision is yours. NALP is working on a kind of a train the trainer program. Right now, it's scheduled to roll out in 2020, and that will be, kind of guidance for your mentor. It will be how that mentor should work with apprentices. But right now, you, I'm sure, undoubtedly know who your good trainers are, who would be good mentors, and so you will be responsible for finding those folks and self-identifying. And then once the apprentice goes through those 2,000 hours, we have documentation of all that. Once they've completed the online coursework or classroom instruction, you let us know all those good things, and we will file the paperwork, and that individual will get the certificate from the Department of Labor. A couple things here of who can become an apprentice. The apprentices must be 16. They must complete high school or have a GED or equivalent. If you are working with high school seniors and they've not yet finished high school before they're really recognized in the apprenticeship field, they do have to be eligible, and we do need to see evidence of that in terms of the paperwork you submit. Just as your own hiring practices, they have to be eligible to work in the United States. If your company requires any substance abuse screening, they have to be able to pass that. Again, that's a company decision, and they have to be able to physically perform the duties of being a landscape professional. Again, consistent, I'm sure, with all of your hiring practices. Let's talk a little bit about the resources. As I said earlier, we want to be your support system. We are not launching a program and saying, okay, industry, good luck. We have a lot of resources available to you. So you'll see on the slide some marketing materials. There's tips. I think there's 4 or 5 pages on how you can market the program. We've got a flyer to promote the program in English, one in Spanish. We are working on a video right now. I think it will be done by the end of March that you can use to recruit apprentices. You can just play that and say, hey, look at this cool industry. I'm sure you want to be a part of it. And then we also have resources to promote the profession in general. A lot of educational resources that you'll see there, and we've talked about some of those. And this resources page also has all the forms that you could possibly want to get you going with the program. You do not have to buy any of our materials, but if you do wish to have some help in training your folks during their on-the-job training, we have apprenticeship bundles that we've put together. These are in the 45-page booklet for each of the 17 competency areas. We say, if you're looking for some information, here's some resources you may want to go to. Some are from us, some are from other places, but if you're looking for support to help you in the training, here's the website shows the different training resources we have. We've bundled them all together. It's a little cheaper than if you buy them individually. You certainly do not have to buy one for every apprentice. I would recommend you may want to consider these for your company. So you'll find that information on the resources guide as well. Costs. Company enrollment fee. One-time fee, $500 for NALP members, $1,000 for non-members. For each apprentice, $100 for a member, $200 for non-members. And again, all of those fees will allow us to register you with DOL, register your apprentices with DOL. We will put all your company information on the DOL site and help people find you. In addition to what we're doing, in addition to what you're doing, that's what DOL can do for you. The online training courses, and again, these are optional. If you wish to participate in all 3, $737 if you're a member, $921 if you're not. And we expect all apprentices to finish the program in about a year. We recognize it will take some apprentices a little longer, some maybe 18 months, some even maybe up to 2 years. If you're in the program for 2 years, but for longer than 2 years, there's a $50 carryover fee. Some of the ways here, and I'm going to just hurry a little bit through the next couple of slides because I do want to make sure we've got plenty of time for questions. You heard me mention earlier, we are doing a lot to market the program. Right now, we just are working on a mailer, a good old-fashioned mailer that will go out to high school guidance counselors. We're working with some, not all, but we will get to all of the departments of education in each state to say, hey, we have an apprenticeship program now. We are exhibiting at the I don't know what they're called, but the National Association of, School Guidance Counselors. We're exhibiting at their show in June in Boston. We're also speaking on their program. The topic is, outstanding industries your students need to know about. So we're speaking at that. We are working with veterans organizers, We are just doing a bunch of different space to help market the concept of the apprenticeship program. We're reaching out to the state apprenticeship officers in addition to the DOE. We are working with social media and advertising a lot. If you are not following us on our social media channels, which are YI Landscape, I would encourage you to do that. You can certainly repost, repin, retweet all of the information we do, but we're pushing the program out through those channels. We have provided a lot of tips and resources, and as we've referenced, we will post your information on the DOL site. We will also post you on our career site, which is yilandscape.org. I'm sorry, it's not. It's landscapeindustrycareers.org. So we will post you there. I will tell you, and please hear this, we are not posting 10 companies right now. We will wait till there's a little bit more critical mass because we want people to come to that site to recognize this is a thing. We don't want them to think it's a lame thing because we only have 10 companies or 11 companies. We know that this will be heavily embraced by the industry, so we'll wait a little bit longer and put those up over the next coming weeks. One other thing I'm going to hit before we get to questions. This is too good of an opportunity with 100 companies on the phone not to at least mention we are collecting compensation data. This has absolutely nothing to do with apprenticeships, but with all of you on the phone, I want to put in a plug for this. One of the things, and I'm sure you've heard it, that is a great challenge for people working in our industry is they don't recognize the outstanding opportunities that exist, and they also, in many cases, don't have an idea of the earning potential. Right now, we have Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and many people believe that underrepresents earning potential. So we are working with many state associations around the country. We're working with our team here to really try and collect comprehensive data. We would love 1,000 companies to respond to this survey. We're going to settle for 500, but we're dreaming for 1,000. Imagine the power that can come from data from all of the 50 states. So in addition to having national data, we can have good state data that's available. The only way we can do this is if companies participate. You'll see the shortened URL here, the bit.ly address on the screen. bit.ly/NALP comp survey. The survey takes some time to do. It's not something you can do in 15, 20 minutes. It's going to take some time, but we hope that the investment of time you get will pay for itself in spades by us having this data that we all so desperately need. If you fill out the data, you get a boatload of good information. It comes to you in digital form. You'll see where you fit in terms of national and state averages if we get enough state data. So a lot of value that comes to those of you that will take the time to fill it out. So I can't stress enough, I mentioned earlier, please watch the slide. Look at this slide as well. It's something that I think is incredibly important to the industry. So now what I would like to do is see if we have had any questions that have been submitted. Let's see, we've got here. So one question in terms of, sorry, again, technical challenge here. A couple slides, I'm having problems reading on some of these. Sorry, everyone. I'm going to try and read them as we can, and let's see if we can get to them. Okay. Can NALP program fees... Valerie, I'm sorry to do this, everyone. I'm going to ask my colleague, Valerie. Valerie, can you ask John to come to my office real quickly? Everything we were looking at in advance is not working, so I'm having a little trouble with your questions. So, Valerie, if you can ask John to come down here real quick, I'd appreciate it. And I'm going to wing my way through the rest of these as we try and get on here. Okay. Can NALP program fees be covered by state or federal dollars? Absolutely. So for those states that offer reimbursement or tuition fees, absolutely. You will find on our Landscape Apprenticeship website a link that allows you to connect with your state apprenticeship office. We are trying to help with some of this, but we are not experts in all 50 states, and we will more than likely refer you to your state apprenticeship office. Again, you'll find that link in the resource section of the apprenticeship office. So we're happy to support you. We're trying to get some, sample grant applications you can use. But the first point will be that state apprenticeship office, because again, these things change from time to time. Copy of the slides, absolutely. This entire presentation, hopefully with audio, if we've worked the technology correctly, will be available on the NALP site. Sorry, we've got technical. IT is here to save the day to make this question screen bigger so I can actually see these questions coming in here. Oh, we're getting success, everyone. Oh, God bless. I was reading something that was about 2-point font, and that was a challenge. CEUs for this webinar. Excellent question, Alexander. I do not know the answer to that. We will look into this and find out if this is CEU eligible. And we will, I guess, share that through the online platform that we have. Will companies need to be current NALP members to participate in the apprenticeship program? No, you will not need to be an NALP member. If you will be putting people through the program, your fees will certainly be much less if you are an NALP member, and we would certainly recommend membership for all the opportunities and advantages that it offers. You probably expected that I would say that, but certainly with all that we're doing in the workforce space, public policy support, education and training, we would certainly recommend you consider membership in addition to the cost differential. Total cost per apprentice, I think we've covered that. Just to clarify, the per apprenticeship fee is a one-time fee. It is not a per year fee. So the $100 if you invest as a member or $200 as a non-member, that is a one-time fee. The only additional cost would be if that apprentice does not finish his or her apprenticeship in the first 2 years. What happens if the apprentice does not complete the program? They can actually go on hold. They can work with our office and they can go on hold and kind of be put in a holding pattern, and they can pick up the apprenticeship program at another time should they stay in the industry. For instance, if they move to a different company, that company can choose to kind of pick up that person right from that point. Proof of high school, what proof is required for the classroom or online training? So proof of high school is we're going to ask for the official transcript. And for classroom or online training, if you're using something other than ours, that's going to be a kind of a one-on-one discussion. And I think Valerie's back on the line, but Valerie will work with any company that needs to find out if something else will fulfill a training requirement. We'll just have discussion, but we will be asking for things like the syllabus, the curriculum, study materials, tests and quizzes. We'll be asking for information like that. Question, what does an apprenticeable job mean? That is I'm going to explain this the best way I can. DOL may explain it differently. An apprenticeable job or an apprenticeable industry means that the DOL is recognizing that as a skilled trade, a skilled craft. So you may have heard me reference earlier, we've moved into this skilled category because we have a DOL program. So we are petitioning to DOL to have for instance, the lawn care industry recognized as a skilled trade. It would almost be laughable for those of us that know the industry to think they would think otherwise, but that's the first step. In our conversations with them, they see no issue of making it an apprenticeable industry, so we don't expect that that will be a barrier. So we're working on that while we're working through the curriculum development. I will also mention to any lawn care companies that are on the phone today, if you are interested in working with us in the creation of the lawn care apprenticeship program, we would welcome your involvement. Please feel free to reach out to me or Bob Mann is my colleague who will actually be doing the heavy lifting on this. Bob comes to us from the industry, from the lawn care side of things, as a matter of fact, and he's an agronomist. So no better person than Bob Mann to be leading the charge in that area. Question, are we aware of apprenticeship programs available directed at irrigation technician jobs or arbor care technicians? Embarrassingly, no, I'm not. There may be some. I'm pretty sure the arbor care industry has some apprenticeship programs, and happy to help find a little bit more information on that. We can provide that information after the call. Irrigation, I believe there are some, I don't know if they are nationally registered. If there are not, I think that's another good one for the industry to take a deeper dive into. Obviously, our program does cover irrigation, but perhaps we need to look at doing a standalone in that area. You guys are full of questions. I'm glad we've allowed some time. Are the 144 hours of classroom instruction included in the 2,000? No, those are different. So the 2,000 hours is on-the-job training provided under the guidance of a mentor. The 144 hours, those have to be taken in a classroom style instruction, or they have to be done, online. If a company does have a robust training program and the 144 hours required is something you can teach by your curriculum, we're absolutely great with that. But again, we will ask for tests or quizzes, curriculum guides, etc. Someone said it was hard to hear the video at the beginning. My apologies for that. This presentation will be online, and you can listen to it in Dolby sound, surround sound later. It's a great video. John Deere did an excellent job with that. Let's see. Government recognition for this program in Canada. This is an interesting question. We've gotten this a couple of times lately. Canada does have its own apprenticeship program. But Valerie, do you want to chime in? I know you've been talking to DOL about this later. So can you address the question, Valerie, of is there any government recognition for this program in Canada? Valerie? All right, we have a couple technical difficulties today. So I don't know that Canada will recognize our apprenticeship program.
Hear me now, Missy?
But, oh, I can hear you. Hi, Valerie. Welcome to the call.
Okay. So with our program, because it is through our Department of Labor, the certificate would come from the United States, not Canada. So the only thing a Canadian company would have to look at is what value would their citizens place on our certificate. There's nothing precluding a Canadian company from participating, but we would have no jurisdiction over whether or not whether or not Canada would recognize the program or the certificates that we would be able to issue.
Thank you. Is the mentor to apprenticeship relationship one-on-one? The answer to that is yes. We do recognize that the official ratio is one-to-one. As training is happening, there may be training that's not a one-to-one ratio, but that connection between a student and a teacher, so to speak, or a mentor is supposed to be one-on-one. In fact, we will ask at registration who the mentor is for the apprentice. Company registration fee one time. Just to clarify, the company fee is indeed a one-time fee. Someone has indicated they don't understand how online education can be optional. So let me clarify on that. The 144 hours is a requirement. You have to fulfill the requirement of what's been outlined in the curriculum we've provided to DOL. And this is not just NALP saying, oh, we think that these 144 hours would be important. This is really developed by a group of industry practitioners who said, we think this is more important than that, or this is less important than that. So it was an industry input into what's important. We took those 144 hours required by DOL and put them into an online program. That idea really came from other associations, and TCIA I'll use as an example. We worked with someone who used to work at TCIA, and they initially reached out to technical colleges and said, hey, we're going to launch an apprenticeship program, and it would be great if you guys would offer a curriculum to support the 144 hours. And that's great if schools want to do that. But what happens if somebody doesn't live near one of those schools, or that it's not offered at one of those schools. So we've made the online version available 24/7 to anybody all around the country or all around the world. So you can choose ours, but if you have another option, we're certainly happy to look at that and see if it will fulfill the requirements. So hopefully that answers that question. How can we get the content of the online training so we can evaluate whether we have local resources that could potentially meet the requirement? So you can see that information online, and they're actually working, our friends at Colorado State are working at putting kind of a mini curriculum overview, so you can kind of see what the program is like before you get into that. And there's another point I wanted to make on this. So we can provide you with what that curriculum looks like. Oh, I know. And then you'll be able to see that online. If it's not up there already, you'll be able to see what that looks like. You can kind of go through a little bit of the program and look at the curriculum. The other thing I want to mention is right now that program with CSU is available only in English, but it will be made available in Spanish. They're working on that now, and we don't have a hard deadline, but hopefully in the next several weeks or couple of months. Okay, John Kreitzer, not to put you on the spot, but John is a landscape management instructor at the Upper Valley Career Center in Ohio. He has indicated they offer pre-apprenticeship programs for many of our skilled trades, and he cannot tell us how excited he is about this program for the industry. So thank you for that excitement. We are excited too, John. Is there any way, yes, so schools can definitely work with us and kind of petition to have that 144 hours validated, and this will be something, again, that Valerie will be the point of contact on. Once our team reviews alternate curriculum, it's good. We put it up on the DOL site, and it's sanctioned to say this counts for the 144 hours. It's just a one-time approval, and then people don't have to call us and say, well, I'd like to go through John's program. Can I? Once it's up there, it fits the bill for the 144 hours. Oh, it fits the bill for the 144 hours. Okay. Let's see what else we have on here. Does the employer need to be a member? No, but we highly recommend it. Company fee per year, we've talked about that. So again, it's one time for the company, one time for the apprentice. Oh, great question here from unaccredited. Let's talk about that. Right now, the certification program and the accreditation program are separate from the apprenticeship program, but there's definitely a connection. If I was at a chalkboard and drawing a picture for you all, I would put apprenticeship program as the bottom block. I would then put certification, and then I would put accreditation. We think that all three are demonstrations to customers, to communities, about the skills and competencies that are very important to this industry. So, when you're investing in an apprentice, somebody you think really should be a good fit for the industry, you're putting them through a very extensive training opportunity. They will be very well situated to then sit for the certification exam, should they wish to do so. And you need to have a certain percentage of people from your company registered or as certified before you can apply to be an accredited company. So they really are connected. So you do not need to do kind of one before the other, but there's definitely a connection among those things. And again, Valerie can help you with how all of those things are related together. Does the classroom style training submitted for consideration need to include the same outlined topic areas and total 144 hours? Yes, it does. So what, we fully expect that some people will say, well, I've got a training program for these 7 hours. Can it count for the 144? Yes. And I've got one for 12 and 13. We would certainly much rather, when people are petitioning for things to count for the 144, we would much rather you apply for program by program. So the 3 competency areas, landscape management, landscape installation, and irrigation, we would really prefer that it be done kind of as lockstep and barrel. There will be a fee for companies that are asking us to approve their curriculum. There will be a fee because the extensive review process, it will take some time. We're estimating, the better part of a full day or more, because again, we're looking at the curriculum, we're looking at the tests, the quizzes, syllabus, et cetera. So it's not just it looks good. We really are putting thought and attention into it. But once that approval is given, it, lives in perpetuity, or at least for a while. So there will be a fee for those asking us to validate their curriculum. Does the apprentice get paid for the classroom work? So the apprentice will get paid for the time that they're investing in company work. And do they get, so I guess the question specifically is, do they get paid during the 144 hours? I do not know. Valerie, do you know the answer to that question on if they get paid for the classroom and like the CSU program?
That would be an individual company decision. The main thing that we say is that the amount of work hours, you can't work them overtime such that they cannot do their classroom time, but if your company chooses to pay them during the classroom time, or if they're going to do it online, that would be an individual company decision that you would make.
Good. Thank you. Next question, does the $500 program fee cover more than one apprentice per company? Oh, our CFO would probably say, no, we wish the $500 was per apprentice, but no. We want to partner with every company in this. So the $500 is a one-time company fee. You can put one apprentice through the program for that and then pay for that one apprentice, or you can put 100 apprentices through. So the only time you pay per apprentice is the apprentice fee, again, $100 for members, $200 for non, but the company fee is just one time. And that's our fee for basically setting you up with DOL, which takes some time, putting your company up on the DOL site, putting you on all of our sites, et cetera, et cetera. Do we work directly with Valerie to submit training for consideration and approval? Absolutely. And we're excited to start working with organizations for that. And then Valerie will work with technical expert to validate that curriculum. Do the 2,000 hours have to be new hours, or can past hours count toward the 2,000 hours? Great question and great answer for you. Valerie, would you take this one as well, please? Will do the 2,000 hours have to be new hours, or can past hours count?
We can give you credit for previous training experience and for your employment. We do ask that the individual work with the program for 6 months, and at the 6 months mark, then we will review any past learning that they've had or past work experience that we have, and we can give you up to 50% credit towards the 2,000 hours or the 144 hours, but you first must work for the 6 months to be considered.
Perfect, thank you. Do mentors for on-the-job training have to be certified by the NALP? The answer is no. Right now, your selection on who you think will be good and capable mentors, and we will be providing help for those mentors starting in 2020, earlier if we can get it launched, but committed by 2020. We'll be providing guidance for those mentors. Classroom training, does this mean it has to physically happen in the classroom? No. This is a DOL, it's DOL terminology. It's a classroom or classroom style instruction. So online training, such as the one we're providing through CSU, will fulfill that requirement. Can we put the survey site back up? Well, thanks for that question. Absolutely. And I recognize you all are seeing a portion of my screen. My monitor went black, so now we're together on laptop. So let's see if this will work. Hopefully you all can see that, but it's bit.ly/NALP comp survey. Again, bit.ly/NALP /NALP comp survey. Just a quick housekeeping note, we are at 2:30, which was the scheduled time for the ending of this session. Valerie and I will be happy to stay on the phone for a few more minutes, and we will answer all of the rest of the questions in the queue. But for those of you that may need to leave at this time, I would again like to thank you for the time you've shared with Valerie and me today and taking the time to learn a little bit more about the program. And I would like to take one more opportunity to thank John Deere for their sponsorship of our webinar and our program. Again, this will be posted on the NALP site, complete with the slides and the audio portion. So again, if you do need to leave to move on to other commitments, please feel free to do so. But again, we will stay on the line for a few more minutes and try and work our way through the rest of these questions. Okay, do mentors have to be certified? So we addressed that, classroom style, survey backup, email the presentation. Again, that will be, it will be posted online, a lot of requests for that. Can we add coursework to the program related to maintenance spray tech in addition to maintenance? Yes, you can definitely add program information. If you do some things that are not covered by the 17 competency areas, absolutely, you can include those in what you are training the employee. This really needs to fit and work for your company so that you feel when an apprentice has finished the program, they really have the skill sets you need in that man or that woman to be an asset to your company. And they will certainly learn those through the programs, but if there's something missing for you, please feel free to add that. And please feel free to let us know what you're adding, because we expect that we will be adding additional apprenticeship programs, perhaps altering in the future. So please let us know. And if there's a bunch of things that come in, well, we can certainly take the stock in those numbers and look at that for additions. Can the student achieve his 144 hours while still in high school? And it goes on to say, I know they officially cannot be an apprentice until they've earned their diploma. Absolutely correct. They cannot start, they cannot be recognized as an apprentice until they are out of the program. And Valerie, I know you've been talking with DOL about this lately as well. Can you address what happens with that high school information, that the training they get in high school once they become an apprentice?
Yes, that would be the same as previous employment experience. So once they graduate high school and they're actually in our program for at least 6 months, we can then take a look at any training that they received while high school. Like if they went ahead and took our online courses, we can still give them credit for that, even if they took it while in high school. We just can't recognize the credit till they have been in our program as an apprentice for 6 months. If the high school was doing some training and we have approved that curriculum, then again, we can't give them credit for that after they have actually been an apprentice for 6 months after they've graduated.
Good, good. Next, can NALP members contribute to the wage survey? Absolutely. We do want every contractor in the industry to participate. I know that's a big pipe dream, but the more, the better data we have. So non-members are welcome to participate in the data submission as well. Thank you. Can NALP programs be covered by state or federal grants? Yes. Again, we would recommend you go to your state apprenticeship office to learn more. We have already sent out information to each state apprenticeship office to let them know of the program. We will continue to follow up. If we can help you in any respect with your state office, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on that, and happy to support you there. Online classes in Spanish, yes, those are being worked on. I don't have a hard date on that, but they're being worked on, and I've heard several weeks to a couple of months, so we'll be excited when those certainly go live. Assuming the lawn care apprenticeship program is approved, will there be crossover in the training if someone would like to complete an apprenticeship in both programs? Meaning perhaps there might be some of the same training required in both programs, or do you expect the programs to be different? Okay, so this is a great question, and let me answer based on what I think and know today. The landscape management apprenticeship program is a you invest the 2,000 hours and the 144 hours of training. We believe the lawn care apprenticeship program will be done as a competency-based apprenticeship program instead of time-based program. Again, it's still in its early stages, and this will be up for the committee working on this to make that recommendation. But with DOL programs, you can either have the hour-based or competency-based. So if a lawn care technician is coming in and they've already worked in the industry or what have you, if they can demonstrate certain competencies, it will be a quicker program to go through. So I think that there will be, again, the committee may change that, but I think that's what's being explored at this point in time. So I think the two will run separately, but it's something we've not yet addressed as a team to see, how kind of dual credit can work. And we've got to take that as a note upon ourselves to learn more. So we certainly will, but I do expect the programs will be a little different. So more to follow on that. Good question. Are all the materials training, log training provided to companies for apprentices? Yes. So, and it looks like this gentleman has left the call now, but everything that we've talked about, the log, the tracking information, all of that is in the resources section of the apprenticeship website. It's also in the booklet that we keep referencing. You'll see a sample of that in there. And then you will get an automatic note from us every 2 weeks asking you to submit your training log. Again, our job is to keep track of all those hours and validate all of that to DOL. We will be moving that to a digital platform, not immediately. That will happen later in the year, but we will be looking at moving things in that direction. Any suggestions on how to connect training with our state college landscape programs? Absolutely. So I know a lot of educators are really excited about this program. I think the first thing to do would be to, set up a meeting with them and introduce them to the program. We're meeting with a bunch of folks from Virginia Tech in I think it's April 3rd, to talk just about this, as a matter of fact, about the apprenticeship program. At the Workforce Summit, I know we had a couple of educators there as well, but this is a great opportunity to help them connect with industry. It's really an incredibly effective partnership. I know many colleges are challenged by enrollment. This is just a great opportunity to have industry work in concert with both high school educators, college educators, the academic community to really promote the profession, and it will really be helpful. So if we can provide guidance on that, we're happy to do that more one-on-one, but we are putting a lot of information on our Landscape Industry Careers website. We've already put some up there, but we'll be adding more with resources. We're putting together a toolkit for companies to be able to go in and talk with educators about the apprenticeship program. It will have information about the size and scope of the industry, career ladders, compensation, et cetera, et cetera. So that will be, we'll support you in that with the toolkit. Again, right now, components of it are available on Landscape Industry Careers, but more is being developed as we speak. And again, we're happy to help you. I think this gets us to the end of our questions. Let me just do a quick, it looks like one in here didn't see. We said that you have to up the pay as they gain more skills, but can we start at any pay that is fair to our area? Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but yes, you can start. Obviously, you need to start at least minimum wage, whatever the market rate is at your area. Absolutely, you can start there. And again, it's a requirement for their skills. As their skills grow, that compensation will grow. And that is something that's a question on the paperwork. You have to submit that information to us. But again, it has to be at least one time in the first 6 months. Valerie, anything I left out on that?
No, I think that's correct. As long as you tell us what your wage scale is going to be, and as long as it is not below the minimum required in your state, you can choose your wage scale, and you can have a different wage scale per apprentice. So you may have one apprentice who comes in with no experience whatsoever that you want to start them at one rate. You could have another apprentice that comes in and already has some experience, so maybe the current employee, and you have a different wage scale for them. I just need to know each wage scale per apprentice, but that is your company's choice what you're going to start them at, and we need an estimate of where you're going to end them at.
One other thing, thank you for that, Valerie. One other thing on the grants, and I don't want to, please hear this, I don't want to overpromise on this, but I know, for instance, in talking with the state grant officer in Pennsylvania, he explained to us that the grant applications can be written for anything other than bricks and mortar. So for instance, if your company has dated equipment and you want to train your employee on more modern, newer technology, you can include that in your grant request. That is a comment from the officer in Pennsylvania. That may not be the case in the other 49 states, but that was certainly very exciting to us to know that companies can actually apply for equipment enhancements as part of the apprenticeship program. So I'll throw that out there as well. With that, I believe we have gotten to every question in here. And if we've not answered your question, it was not a purposeful omission. It was just literally trying to look at something that was 2-point font. Now it's about 8-point font. So we'll go back through here and make sure we've hit all of your questions. If for some reason we haven't, please feel free to reach out to Valerie or to me, and we are more than happy to walk you through this. You know, again, we've got a lot of information online, but as I said earlier, we really want to be your partners. We don't want anyone to not register because they're fearful, because it's new, because they're intimidated by anything. We really want to help make it an easy process for you. Registering really is an easy process. You register your company, then you register the apprentices, and there's 2 forms for that. And then you either register for our 144 hours or you petition for something else. And then, of course, you provide the training in the interim. But we really do think that this is an important opportunity for the industry to be recognized, for the expertise that it takes to be skilled in the work that you do. So with that, I think we will adjourn for the day. Again, on behalf of our team here at the NALP office, thank you for sharing your time with us today. Thank you for your interest in the program. We look forward to continuing to work with professionals to make this an incredible opportunity for the industry and for those we hope to attract to the field. Again, thank you, and we hope to connect with each of you soon. Take care.